Contrary to popular belief, this is not just rap music. This is life. So I offer you right now, life. Life. For every little black child, this is life. Life. For every single parent, this is life. Life. For every brother behind bars, this is life. Hold your head.
What it is, what it do, what it ain't. What it is, UnMask'D podcast. What it do, it's gonna do what it do. What it ain't, this ain't nothing you wanna miss. Episode 56, UnMask'D, 1/3. You know who it is, your boy Trez. So glad to be here. Across me, I got my boy P. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? King to a God.
Big blessings.
Big blessings. We gotta. I think this is gonna be great. You know what I'm saying?
Amazing conversation.
Yeah.
Guests.
We gonna kick it off. Spins, what's good, man?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. So glad to not only be, a part of another amazing episode of the UnMask'D podcast, but absolutely happy to welcome our guest, Ebonie Freeman, who is a mental health activist, also a very well-known public speaker, who decided to spend some time with us, take some time out of her busy schedule to be a part of the podcast. So welcome, Ebonie. Thank you again. Words can't express how happy we are to have you on. And then, I just wanted to, stop talking and allow you to go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. First of all, good evening. It is an honor and a pleasure to be on this platform, to be able to share what I feel is a topic that not only is near and dear to my heart, but especially in the times we're living in today, something that needs to be talked about more often and normalized. And so I'm very thankful for this opportunity. My name is Ebonie Freeman, and I consider myself to be an Army brat. I'm from Killeen, Fort Hood, Central Texas.
Okay.
And I have lived in a couple of different places, but for the most part, Texas is what I claim in my home. Currently, I live in Denton. I am a mental health advocate, and I have been a volunteer with NAMI North Texas for going on 4 years. And it's really important to me to be able to give back and to volunteer. And I do that through mental health education, sharing my story, and encouraging others to share their story as well. I am very fortunate to be able to have platforms such as yours. And the more people that we can get the message out to about normalizing mental health and ending stigma, then the more people we can help. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I'm happy to be able to do that.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You made mention to NAMI, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. You expound a little bit upon like what that group does, or I know the specific branch that I researched was North Texas. Is it only in North Texas, or is it world? I mean, across America? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it's the largest grassroots organization dedicated to mental health awareness and ending the stigma concerning mental health. The local chapter here in the DFW area is NAMI North Texas, and NAMI is all over the US. It's a really great organization that offers a lot of resources for individuals, and all of the classes that they have are free to the community. And that's huge because you don't find very many organizations who offer the resources and the services that they do that are completely free. And so that's one major resource that I share with individuals is NAMI. And they do such things as advocacy work, health fairs, going into schools. They do mental health first aid training. They have something every year called NAMI Walks, where they raise funds to be able to continue to offer free services and classes to families and individuals. So it's a really great organization that helps a lot of people, and I'm very thankful to be a part of it.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, that's amazing. Happy to like know that, that is available. Just hearing you speak about it, I know, you've been, if I'm not mistaken, you said 4 years, being a volunteer, and so that's a lot of time spent to really know and kind of dive into what you know that actual group offers. So good to know, and thank you for giving that information to the people. I know we got a lot of questions, so I want to go ahead and kick it off. I mean, this is something that, as a group we've been talking about. I got to give kudos to Trez because he brought a lot of light and attention to, what we wanted to talk about and what we wanted to give the people. So I want to make this time about giving that direct information. So again, a lot of questions. I'll start off. I wanted to ask what basically created that passion to want to talk about mental health awareness and just kind of like give that light, not only just to our people, but just in general.
So I would say my lived experience. I do live with multiple mental health conditions. I have multiple diagnoses, and I'm also a suicide attempt survivor.
Mm.
And so going through my journey and being able to come out on the other side alive, not saying that I still don't have my struggles, but um, really, and after I did healing, because I also dealt with a lot of stigma and guilt and shame about going through the things that I went through concerning my mental health. And once I realized that I did not want other people to experience the loneliness that I did, and as I said, went through the healing process and dealt with my own demons, so to speak, I realized that I want to be able to make a difference. And this is how I want to make a difference in the world, is by being a mental health advocate. One of my quotes that I have been hanging on to the last few years is a quote by Maya Angelou, and it says, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you."
Wow.
Yeah.
And I had a story to tell, and I have a story to tell. And I want to be able to encourage others once they're ready to get to that point to share their story, because the more we share our stories, we connect and help others to feel like they're not alone in whatever we're struggling with, but even more so when it comes to mental health, because it's such a taboo topic, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. Number one, thank you for sharing that. Right. That's something that's obviously you've had your struggles, and then you being able to come out on the other side. I think, that's an amazing story in itself. And thank you for sharing that with everyone. Also, I love your passion. I love the way I love the way you speak about it, and just being confident enough to go through and be that advocate, as you mentioned before, for everyone else and people around you, friends, family, and just people that are in need. So definitely thank you for that, fellas. I'll leave it open to you guys. I know you guys probably had a few questions you wanted to ask our guests. So I got a million, so I don't want to hog the show, but I just I just want to make sure.
I mean, again, I'm grateful that she's on here. I'm grateful that she's sharing. Along with your journey, I guess some of the thoughts are from, because I have some somewhat warped way of thinking sometimes, right? I used to be one of those that it's not that bad,
Yeah, right.
figure it out, things of that nature. As you grow and get older, you mature some, you start looking at things a little bit different. What was your support like after, it was made known, or after the attempt? What was that support system like? Was it difficult? Was it easy? Like what's the support like at the beginning of what you went through?
At the beginning of what I went through, I honestly did not know how to build a support system. And for me, growing up as a Black woman, there's this perception that you have to be strong, right? And that you have to keep it together. And so for a long time, that's the perception that I put out there, because I didn't want people to know that I was struggling and that I was hurting because I saw it as a weakness. I felt I just needed to, get myself together and keep going. And so when everything, it was like a volcano that was dormant and it just erupted and everything came to the surface, and I could no longer hide everything or be that strong Black woman. And so it was hard because I felt like the individuals who were around me that were exposed to my struggles, they just didn't know. They didn't have the education, they didn't have the understanding or the knowledge and how to help me. And so my support system for many years was just my husband and I,
Mm.
and a few close friends. And I had one thing I learned in therapy is that, especially in dealing with mental health issues, is that you cannot force anyone to understand what you are going through.
Mm.
And so I had to reevaluate the individuals who I thought were going to be there for me that weren't, and the ones I wanted to that just still didn't understand, and focus on the ones who were there and focus on quality and not the quantity of the support.
Mm, got it. No, it's thank you for expounding on that. And what I wanted to kind of, and I guess this is something I reword because I mean it's kind of like a follow up after what you just said because it answered a lot. But I wanted to talk about why do you feel like there may be when you talk about having that conversation with somebody who, as a friend or family, understand or may not understand, but they see what you're going through. Now that you're on the other side, right, and you're an advocate for things prevention, suicide prevention, and mental health awareness. How do you go about having that conversation? What advice do you give to that person that's trying to somewhat make a breakthrough with a friend or a family member? And then also, how do you enter into that conversation? What advice would you give somebody that's trying to enter into that conversation, start that conversation, try to help their friend or family member?
Honestly, the best thing you can do is just jump in. I think the saying is feet first or head first,
Yeah.
and not be afraid. That's the thing is, for example, I'll say that a lot of people think that if they encounter someone who is having suicidal ideations or suicidal thoughts, that if they ask them, are you thinking about, committing suicide, that will put that idea in their head, but that's really not true.
Mm.
Studies say that you need to ask that person. And so just coming right out and having the conversation and opening up about, hey, I noticed that you're struggling, or it seems like you've been in bed a lot, or I can tell your mood has been off, or you've been really angry and irritated and agitated lately. Is everything okay? How are you feeling?
Mm.
Just asking those questions and taking the time to just sit down and, I guess, get past that fear or worry is what I would advise individuals to do with friends, family, and loved ones, is just start the conversation, right?
Mm.
It's like mental health is just as important or equal to our physical health, right? So if we know someone with diabetes or high blood pressure or even cancer, would we still treat them any differently? Or,
Mhm.
when
Right.
it comes to asking them or helping them,
Got
we wouldn't. And so it should be the same with mental health as well.
it. Mm.
Right.
Good. Got you.
You had said something that kind of was going to be something that I was going to speak on. Uh, but when you had mentioned that, just being, you mentioned being a Black woman and having the stigma of having to be strong, not being able to show yourself as weak. Um, it's kind of maybe it's just a stigma for for us as Black individuals, because I felt it was the same stigma for Black men. As far as mental health, like if they're going through things, not wanting to let somebody know what they're experiencing, because that persona that we're supposed to keep upon ourselves, that everything's going to be okay, or we could fix everything. When you know somebody like that, and you know that they're kind of going through something, like what would you recommend being the best approach? Would it be a listening ear? Would it be seeking them to somebody else because they're in a dark time right now? Like, what would be the best way to go about it because you truly care about that person, and they're in a fragile state of mind, or a fragile moment right now. You want to do what's best for them. So, how would you recommend attending that person to make sure that they know that you're caring about them, but you're also trying to do what's best for them at the same time?
hmm I think just offering support and just sitting down and talking to them and asking them, hey, it seems like you're going through a lot and you're in a dark place. What can I do? How can I help? What is it that I can do to make things easier on you? And starting there, because a lot of times, if we just take the time to just, like I said, ask people, are you okay? How are you doing? That makes a difference, and it makes people feel seen and heard. And so that's what I would say. But on the flip side of that also is you have to keep in mind too that some people may not know because it's new to them. That's how it was for me. I didn't realize until I went to therapy how to communicate what I was feeling, or how to communicate the ways I needed help, or even how to reach out to people, right? Because, like I said, and you alluded to as well, so many times we feel like, what the saying, what goes on in this house stays in this house. I know I heard that a lot growing up.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I think
That
we all did.
yes, we're afraid to let people know about what's going on in our houses. And
Mhm.
so it's important to work past all that and realize that it's okay not to be okay. And life can be hard sometimes. And
Right.
so the individual who you're trying to help, they have to come to a point as well where they're willing to accept help and realize that, you know what, I'm going through something, and this may not be normal for me, or I'm worried about how this is going to affect me, and I need to open up. So that's another aspect to it as well. We can go to our friends and family members who we care about, but they also have to be receptive of our help and ready for it, as well as admitting that they need it as well.
Got it. Thank you, Ebony. I will in this for me, like, right. So we talk about we just talked about, like, basically it's hard growing up in our community. It's frowned upon to say and it's just how I was raised, and I'm sure, like I said, we all dealt with it to a certain capacity. It's hard for us to say, okay, yeah, something's going on, something is identified with some mental illness. And I guess my question is, knowing that, why is that so hard for us to embrace? And then on that same scale, right? We endure a lot of hardship. My background was a little rough, coming up. So when we do a lot of hardships, do you think that also, in addition to, like, being scared, like family members saying, "Hey, we don't do that over here. We don't identify with mental illness, or whatever it may be." And then on top of that, having that hardship growing up, do you think that contributes to a diagnosis later on, or worsens any type of condition that you may be in? Just from what you've seen and your what you've been around, or may have experienced with friends or family.
Definitely. So stigma exists across the board when it comes to mental health. However, communities of color, I believe there's an additional barrier and levels of stigma that exists. And then as you break that down into, let's say, the Black faith-based community, not only the
Mm.
Black community, there's heavy stigma that exists when it comes to mental health. I know for me personally, growing up in a faith-based community, I was told things like, you need to pray more, you need to fast more, you're not reading your Bible enough.
Mm.
You know, I was even told by someone close to me that I just had a spirit and I needed to be delivered. And so I said
Wow.
all that to say is I think that a lot of a lack of awareness, stigma, fear, because a lot of times we fear things that we don't understand.
Mm.
And when we're not willing to open up and our minds to learn something new, right, it prevents us from being able to take in new information. And so, and then I also think part of that too is, right, we have this beautiful lineage, of our ancestors. And a lot of people say, well, my ancestors went through slavery. And, if
Mhm.
they went through that, then I can deal with what I'm going through. But, to that, I would say that no one can be strong all the time. And at some point, an object that has a board, and you continue to put weight on that board, eventually it's going to break.
Oh.
And so that's how I see that. And I just believe that as a community that we need to come to the point to where we realize that there's nothing wrong with saying that I'm struggling. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with saying that I'm feeling depressed, or there's nothing wrong with crying. I know, growing up, I've been told, oh, stop all that crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. But you're having
Oh
real
yeah.
emotions, you know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And so, that's one part to it. And then, I think another part is that we have to educate ourselves. Education is so important. And I think in the generation we are now in, and also finding ourselves in the pandemic, mental health is coming to the forefront, and suicide as well, because the suicide rate has gone up, has been steadily increasing over the years, but even more so with the pandemic, and even more so amongst our young Black youth. And so it's really important that we pay attention to these things, and having platforms like this where we can educate people and just talk about it and normalizing it, right? So if we're in a dark room and, obviously you can't see anything, but if I were to light a candle, it illuminates everything around it. And so that's how I feel the conversation with mental health is, if we can light that candle and illuminate the light around it,
Mhm.
then we can start to have these conversations and make it normal. And also creating safe spaces, that's so important
Mhm.
as well, because a lot, or I'll say for me, there were times where I was vulnerable and I wanted to open up about what I was going through, but I was afraid of what people may say or what people may think. And there were times when I did not get the response that I thought I was going to when I opened up, and that made me want to shut down, right? And
Mhm.
so I think another part of that too is being able to create these safe spaces for people where they feel comfortable, whether it's coming to you and crying, or opening up about
Mhm.
struggling with depression and things of that nature.
Got it.
Mhm.
And all of that makes sense.
Great analogies, by the way.
I mean, what I wanted to jump in and say, because you said a few things um, that kind of stuck out to me. One, I agree with you with the slavery thing and our ancestors going through it, but slavery is still here. It's just a different form.
Mm.
Yes.
Right
Mm.
now, the way I see it, a lot of us are slaves to these devices.
Mm. Yeah.
A lot of us, especially the young ones, and you touched on that as well. The younger ones, they can't stay off the phone or social media, whatever platform it is.
At all.
So those are things that we have to be mindful of. You want to give your children freedom, but you also need to govern it as
Right.
best you can. What you do, what have been some of the things that you've identified with our Black youth that may help us as parents kind of pay more attention to what's going on in their lives?
I think so. We live in a day and age where everyone is on the go, right? It's somewhat popular to, someone ask you what's going on and say, "Oh, I'm busy," or "I have such and such going on," right? It's a badge of honor if you stayed up, all night burning the midnight oil, so to speak. And so I think one thing we need to do is just slow down
Mm.
and take time out for what's important. Things like having conversations after school with your kiddos, taking the time to get in their worlds and see how they feel and things that are going on in their lives, and letting them, creating safe spaces for them as well, right? Because any parent would want their child to feel comfortable coming and talking to them about anything, right? And so I think creating that bond and that relationship where your child can feel comfortable talking to you about anything is important. And then I would say also maybe going on a car ride and maybe letting them choose the music, right? And asking them, so why do you like this song? Or what is it about this song that you like? And also, I think modeling behavior is important because you can give lip service all day, but modeling is so important when they see you doing these things, such as monitoring your screen time or taking mental health breaks and having healthy relationships, and that's teaching them to be able to do the same.
Okay, good information.
Very good.
So I guess like kind of like piggybacking off what P is saying is we really need to focus more into what's going on in the household as far as like spending more time with the people closest to them, making them put devices and things like that down to get a better understanding where they're at inside their mind is what I'm getting from what you're saying. Just the communication aspect of things.
Yes.
I feel like I
And
needed to hear that too. I needed to hear that message. So yeah,
and
thank you.
communication is so important, right? Because a lot of times, especially in this age of social media, right, we're in our phones and we're not face to face, and that affects our communication, right? And so when we take the time to be able to sit face to face and have those verbal conversations, that is also beneficial as well. And it's helping with cognitive development as opposed to just, being on the phone with fingers, flying and texting. And I think that it means more too, and you're creating memories. And in my opinion, it really shows your child that, hey, mom and dad or
care.
uncle, aunt, they're taking the time out with me and they care. Yeah.
All good information. Like I said, I think I needed to hear that. And so, you touched on something that was very, very important, right? Take a break, right? Slow down a little bit. And so, do you feel like, because I was looking at one of the links that you provided us, prior to the show, and when I opened up the website, I looked at some of these quick little exercises, right? Making sure you get proper sleep, making sure that you're eating well. So do you feel like nutrition, things that we do in an everyday life, just can it help slow down some of the progression when you deal with some of these mental illnesses? Do you feel like, when you're dealing with mental diseases, do you feel like the nutrition, things that we take for granted, right? Just giving ourselves a little time. Do you feel like those things kind of help, slow down progression when you're dealing or thinking about like a mental illness or disease of any sort? Or do you feel like, do you feel like that helps making sure that we taking care of ourselves? I mean, from a nutritional standpoint, do you feel like that helps, prevent progression or help you stay a little bit more mentally stable?
So this is an area where research where they are still discovering new and finding new information when it comes to the connection with our diet and the things that we consume and mental health. So it's an expanding field. There is research out there that does show that our eating habits and our diet
Yes.
does have a direct impact
Yes.
on such things as our mood,
Yes.
and sleep as well. And so, or I've read studies about gut health and how that can impact our mental health. And so there are studies out there that shows correlation between how we eat, the foods we eat, and our mood, and how that does affect and impact our mental health.
All right, so I want to jump back a little bit. When we talked about the parents and the children, how would you suggest? And you did share some links, so I would like for you to kind of address some of those. But how can a parent that's dealt with mental health issues be better for their child? What resources are there out there for them?
So one resource that I will provide, and I'll stand by it, like I said, is NAMI. NAMI offers courses specifically for family members of loved ones who live with mental health conditions. And it helps basically teach them how to support their loved ones. There are also resources at your child's school, such as your child's counselor, or some schools have school social workers as well. That's another great resource. Mental Health America is another resource here. There's one in the DFW area as well, is another great resource. And so I would say those are some of the top resources, or really good starting places that you can go to find help.
Awesome.
Are there any like good books as far as like reading up on that you may be able to recommend to people that's experiencing, or parents that may have kids that's dealing with mental health, just for a better or a different approach that they may be able to go about?
I'm pretty sure there's some good books out there. None that I know of at the time. I would just suggest maybe doing a Google search and looking up and seeing what kind of books are out there as far as you know, parents with lived mental health conditions and how to deal with their children, or children with mental health conditions, and how to live life with raising them. That's probably the best advice I would give.
Got you. So we recently came across something. Trez shared it. And for those that's listening, thank you for joining us. Um, so there was a guy from, I guess it was Making the Band.
Yeah.
One of the original, about 20 years or so, Trez.
Yeah, Freddy P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thank you, Trez, for providing that. But I want you to expound on that a little bit more, because that's your fellow Gunshine Sunshine boy.
fellow Floridian. If I'm saying that?
Yeah, fellow Floridian Gunshine Sunshine State. You know how we move. Nah, I was just scrolling the web one night, looking for topics, and it popped out. And he was just pretty much talking about how, he really doesn't. He hates himself for signing to Diddy, because he pretty much can't have a life or do anything like that, and he pretty much hates Diddy and wants to kill himself. He's thought about killing himself ever since the end of Making the Band. He said he can't live a normal life, can't get a job, can't get a chance, feel like he's blackmailed from the industry. It was a pretty tense thing that he had going on. It was probably like 20 to 30 some minutes, but he broke down a couple of times, and then he dared somebody to kill him at the end. So you could tell his emotions.
Yeah, very emotional.
Was everywhere. It was
Yeah.
it was tough to watch. But even with that, my personal opinion is I don't think you could point all your fingers at Diddy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're still a grown man, and we put in here to provide, find a way to provide and protect. Like, if you ain't gonna get it one way, you got to figure out how to get it another.
Well, I think that's the point, right? Like, he found the way he's finding to get it may not be the best for him and his family from what he was sharing. So I'm guessing it was still the street way.
You gotta think outside the box, family.
But see, here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
And this is going back to what Ebonie shared, is when you shared it with me, I called you immediately. I couldn't
Yeah.
even get through the whole thing. And the first thing I told you is I hope somebody that knows him
Reaches out.
reaches out. Because he was in a real dark place, right?
Yeah, he was hurting.
So the thing is, going back to what Ebonie shared is, and Ebonie, we shared that video with you as well. I hope you got a chance to look at it. What was your analysis of it from what you, the way that the people you work with, the industry that you're in? What was your analysis of it?
I agree with what you said. It was a heart-wrenching video, and to see, and we've alluded to this already, but especially Black men to cry and on that platform and just be vulnerable like that, and to even say that he wishes someone would come and kill him, that was deep and serious. And so, like you said, I hope that someone reached out to him in that moment and, asked him, hey, what can I do? I know life is hard right now, but, like you said, we got to think out the box. There are other things we can do to help your situation, help turn it around. And that's one thing I think is so important, especially in dealing with mental health, is community. Community is so important. We are not made to live life alone. No man is an island. And so it's important to be able to have people around you who are going to be there to support you and pick you up when you fall, and not talk about you, but lift you up and encourage you, and be honest and raw with you too.
Right.
And so I feel that that's what he needs right now, is that support, that help, that community to rally around him and pick him up. And sometimes when we're going through things, and we've been going through things for so long, it's hard to see anything else but that, because that's what we've been struggling with for so long. And so I think that possibly going to therapy can help with, reframing and rethinking a lot of the things that have been going on in his life, but then also other people reaching out and finding resources, because there are other ways, and it might be harder, but it's still possible though.
Yeah, I agree. I had a lot of different emotions when I initially watched it. I even had a lot of different emotions about how I felt about it driving up to the studio today. But after sitting in my seat and listening to you share a couple of things, I had to reevaluate my thoughts. Because like you said, one thing that you said is, I don't understand. So for me to have certain thoughts in regards to how Freddie,
How he felt.
he felt,
Mhm.
I have to reserve those because I don't understand.
Gotcha.
So for
Yeah.
me making a judgment in certain areas, after getting the lessons today from this podcast, I have to reserve certain feelings that I was feeling in regards to him prior to hearing what I heard tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's where there's a if I had to in this moment identify where there's a disconnect, it's how we were raised according to the
Right.
and he's kind of in our same group. You know what I
A
mean?
little younger, but yeah.
A little young, but
he's
kind of
still
in
there.
our same
Yeah, he's still
group.
there.
But we were that age. As a young boy. I mean, too. Hey man, suck that up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ain't no crying.
Ain't no crying in my
Yeah,
Get over it.
come on,
Yeah.
get up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for a long time, therapy in our community has always been a scary thing to say that you're going to
Glad
therapy.
you said that. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be the first to admit that I went after I got divorced for like 3 years.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was married for 9. You kind of lose yourself in that. You make so many different compromises and changes
Yeah.
to sustain that. When you get out of it for whatever reason, you got to find yourself again.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to figure out shit. What did I like?
What's my favorite color?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? What kind of ice cream that I like? Nah, for real. We gonna have fun with this shit now because it's been dark.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But for real, the shit was crazy. I had to find out what I liked again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would tell anybody, if at a moment or whatever, hey, go sit down. If it's just for one session, go sit down.
Yeah,
You talking
I
to
agree.
somebody who don't know nothing about you. There's no judgment.
Unbiased.
Right.
It's unbiased.
Yep.
And you can get that out. The biggest thing is we need to get it out without being laughed at.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Well-
my take on it.
What was that quote you said for Maya Angelou again?
There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you.
Very dope. Very dope. It's also on your email. I saw that too. I was like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
that's cool.
it
You got
is.
your little tagline. That's
I
nice.
told you I've been living by it these last couple of years. So, but if I can allude to the therapy comment, I agree wholeheartedly. It's important that just like you go to the doctor to get a checkup for your physical health, taking care of your mental health in that regard and going to therapy, there's a lot of stigma around that too, right? Because we're like, well, I'm not going to tell anyone my business. But the therapist isn't there. It's an unbiased opinion, as we said, and it's just the opportunity for you to sit and to be able to talk things out. And I will say though, that it's very important when you're searching for a therapist to be able to find a therapist that you connect with. And it's okay to interview your therapist, because not every therapist is going to be right for you, and that's okay. And it may take a few times for you to find the right therapist that's right for you. So whether you want a male or a female, whether you want a Black, Latino, whatever, type of therapist, do your research and ask them, hey, what has been your experience working with individuals with divorce? Or I know when my husband and we went to marriage counseling after he had a heart attack that led to a stroke, and it really turned our lives upside down. And so we needed help navigating and finding our new normal. And I asked the therapist, who happened to be a white female, what has been your experience working with Black couples, most importantly, Black men? And it's okay to ask those questions, because it's your time, it's your health and your money. So you want to make sure that you're with a therapist who you feel is a right fit.
And what would you suggest some ways of finding a therapist, just for the people listening and watching?
Definitely. So there are a lot of great ways to find therapists out there. And so I know that NAMI is a great resource. I'm going to keep plugging that. NAMI is a great way to be able to search for a therapist. Therapy for Black girls is also another great resource to be able to find a therapist. Psychology Today is another great website where you can go and filter in location, type by modality, and things of that nature. And so I would say those are some really great resources to start when it comes to looking for a therapist, or even if you have medical insurance, calling your employer, the insurance, and asking them. And a lot of times they offer, and the name escapes me, employee assistance program, I believe, is what it's called. A lot of times they may offer 3 to 5 sessions for free as well. And so that's another great resource right there that you're already, paying for, that you can utilize as well. And then a lot of college campuses also have community clinics where there are students who are going to school to become social workers, therapists, counselors, where you can go on the college campus and you can be seen by a student. I know I did that after I graduated from the University of North Texas, and I started my therapy journey. And one of the first places I went was UNT. because I remembered as a student that I could go there. And then I reached out and find out that they have a community clinic as well where the public can go to be seen. Um, and then also another factor that I'll put out there is therapy can be expensive. And so when you're looking for a therapist, make sure that they accept your insurance. And if they don't, make sure you ask about something called a sliding scale. So what a sliding scale is that they'll take however much you make, you'll have to fill out some paperwork, and then they will tell you based on your income, this is how much you can, you'll pay per session.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. Yeah, that's a good nugget at the end.
Spence? I mean, we
this was amazing. This was much needed. It's long overdue, to have this real conversation.
We had to light that match.
yeah.
Start that, get that fire
And again,
started.
thank you, Trez. I mean,
Mm.
we needed this,
Agreed.
brother.
Yep. Ebony, thank you wholeheartedly. We 100% appreciate you.
Appreciate
for
your time.
expertise.
Appreciate your words of knowledge. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. We have those resources, those links, and so we want to make sure that we get those out and share those as well.
Yeah, it'll all be in the description probably later tonight.
Yeah.
Everything will be in there later tonight.
And so when they look at this, the people who do watch, we'll make sure that they, we'll have it on there so that they can use it, in their time of need. Any last words?
Nah, we appreciate you. Spider, we gonna wild out for about 4 minutes. Ebony, you might want to drop off.
Ebony, once again, we truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining, and we want to continue to make sure that we shed light on this conversation. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all that you do for our community and the conversations that you're bringing to the table. I want to honor and acknowledge the three of you as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate being here with you all tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ebony. You
Thank
take care.
you.
You have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Be blessed.
Man, that was nice right there.
It was.
Yeah, we needed that. Good
Think we all
talk.
did.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Mr. Run On.
Hey man, now leave me alone, man. I had my questions. I had those thoughts.
I was looking for a therapist as you spoke.
Yeah. I bet you were. You should have went get one. You had one.
Oh my gosh, nah, man, you know we love you,
Yeah. Okay.
but you run on.
Hey, it's all right. We got it though.
We did get
Yeah,
it.
we did get
That's
it.
all that matters. Next.
Nah, that's it, man. I'm done.
Good
Trev,
information.
what you got?
Good information, man.
Nah, it was good. It was
Good
neat.
information.
Yeah, you didn't even sweat from the corner of your forehead.
Yeah, I was looking
tonight.
at that shit too, man. I ain't see no
Yeah,
sweat
man,
coming
it was
out.
real
man.
cool.
Trez, you be talking like you don't be sweating up under that damn beanie, dog. Don't.
I got that, right. I got a beanie
you,
with
yeah,
it.
you might be able to hide it a little bit better, but
Yeah, your shit be trickling.
Yeah.
whatever. Hey, y'all got hats on to cover y'all shit up, so don't act like y'all don't be over there sweating with the best of us.
Oh man.
Ain't nobody sweating today. It's about 30-something
Yeah,
degrees
man.
outside,
Yeah, it
bro.
is.
It is cold as hell.
Shit.
Hey, people, gas is now about hit 4.
Shit, that shit hit the 5 or some
Five,
places.
yeah. we over
they,
4.
Yeah,
well,
some
we
places
talking
over.
about Texas. Y'all
No,
still
I'm-
with that premium shit. I keep telling y'all, Lucas. y'all gonna learn. One bottle per fill up. Okay, keep going. Keep going. I'm getting my octane booster.
Saving that money, huh?
Yeah, yeah. You drove something different.
Oh, didn't he, bro?
That truck ain't leave the garage since last week. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You done? You
Yeah,
finished or you
think
done?
I'm done. I
You,
think.
you good?
I think so.
You got it off?
You done asked me that 4 times, man. I'm fucking with you. I'm
Appreciate
done.
everybody,
I'm done
man. Thank
now.
y'all
I'm
for
done
joining
now.
us. Great conversation. Again, enjoyed the whole
Oh man.
You all right?
I'm
You
done.
letting it out, man?
I'm letting it out.
You
man.
okay?
Yeah, I thought Trez was gonna jump in with me though. I thought it was gonna be like a double team.
Now he want to talk. Last week he couldn't answer the question, but he want to talk now.
Ain't no question. I mean,
Hey,
we
man,
had
we
one
good.
question in the YouTube chat, so I appreciate that. I mean, we encourage those that's watching when we are live. If you have any questions on anything we talking about, please throw them in the chat.
Yeah.
It's all about engagement. Thank you, N. Dyer, for throwing that in on how do you go about finding a therapist. And Ebonie gave us the perfect answer for that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of resources. So I'll make sure I get all of that in, once I put the description in there and the artwork, and we'll be good.
Episode 56, man.
Lawrence
Till next
Taylor,
time. Yeah.
he needed therapy. Oh, my bad.
Till next time, we out.
My bad.
UnMask'D Podcast. Check
Peace.
y'all later.
Life, for every little black child, this is life. Life, for every single parent, this is life. Life, for every brother behind bars, this is life. Hold your head.